Sometimes life goes so fast you just need to step back and take a time out. If you're really lucky, you can spend that time picking the brain of Blue Jackets head coach John Tortorella. We could only find one guy brave enough to do it. Here's Bob McElligott and Time Out with Torts.
I'm going to take you in a little bit of a different direction to start, but you'll figure out why quickly, I'm sure. Did your kids play sports when they were kids?
My kids played them all, yes.
Were you able to be involved with them, or were you too busy with your work?
Oh, I was not coaching them. What I do? I went to every one that I could. My daughter was a soccer player, college, right on through college, University of Tampa, a really good team. My son Nick played football, baseball, hockey, all of them. What I did was watch them. Whenever I was in town, I watch them, but I watch them in a corner by myself because I couldn't stand listening to the parents.
Agreed. No question about that.
You're probably one of those parents screaming at your kid, right? Are you one of those parents?
No, I don't. Because when I watch hockey, my son plays hockey. My wife and I are down in the corner because he's a goalie, so you know that you've got to be away from everyone.
Was a goalie, yeah. It's nuts. It's the worst thing to be is that no matter what level, squirt, pee-wee, college, pro, is to be a parent of a goalie.
Is that why you don't talk to the goalies?
No, I have other reasons why I don't talk to the goalies. We'll leave that alone.
All right. Now, in baseball, I actually coach, so I can get in the dugout. So if I have to yell at them, it's, number one, it's justified, and number two, nobody else hears it. So that's fair, right?
Yes.
All right. So I kind of lost my train of thought because I started laughing about that. But anyway, so how about going home with them? Like, did you break down their games at all?
No. I when I would go home with them, driving home, I would pick a spot and not detailed at all, but I'd ask a question, just trying to. I mean, I watch them play, and I know some things that were going on with the game, with no matter what sport it was, no matter if it was my son or daughter, and I just ask a curious question just to see what type of response I would get. But I really did stay away from coaching them. If there's the one thing I did coach them, it's not so much within the play, but how you're supposed to handle yourself as a athlete during a game, and just had conversations along the way that way. Like I talk about these guys being pros, I wanted my kids always to play hard, and you'd have conversations like that. Yeah.
All right, so the reason I asked you about that is you just had your players' dads that were in last weekend, and they went on the trip to Chicago and watched the game here against the New York Islanders. Yeah, sometimes it can be difficult to open your world to people from the outside and to let them in. Let them into your room, let them onto your plane, just let them really be a part of it. Obviously, parents get exceptions, but over the years, have you had to warm to that idea, or do you like having them?
10 years ago, I wouldn't have allowed it. I wouldn't have allowed it, and that's how Neanderthal I was thinking. I think as you get older, you start understanding even more how important family is. I think mortality starts setting in a little bit, and you start thinking about all these things what these kids are going through with me, and to have their mums around, I think last year, and their dads this year, dads a couple years ago too, and I think it's terrific. Now I am very gracious and say hello, but I don't go. If a parent wants to talk to me, I'd be more than willing to talk to the dad or the mom. I talk more to the mums than the dad. It was kind of weird for me with some guys who aren't playing, and some guys are probably pissed off at me. I know some guys that are pissed off at me, and I can imagine the conversations they're having with their dad. And I kind of wonder when they're in town, I wonder what they're thinking. And I'd be more than happy to talk with them, but I don't go seek them. I try to make myself as visible as possible, and if they want to communicate, talk, or ask a couple questions, I'd be more than happy to, because that's their kid that they love.
Did anybody seek you out?
No.
Probably a good thing. Also, with this mix, I think it's very unique for you, too, because you have Nick Foligno's dad, who was a great National Hockey League player.
I coached him, and I talked with him for a while because I coached him when I was an assistant coach in Buffalo. Yes.
So that's one different dynamic that other coaches don't deal with. Then you've got Jonas Korpisalo's father was a general manager in Finland, so he obviously knows the game. Alexander Wennberg's dad played at a pretty high level, so there's a lot of experience.
You wonder what Winnie's dad thinks about me.
I would love to know what he thinks.
After the past few years, and I'll tell you, and I've said it all along, I really like Alexander Wennberg. I think he's a terrific guy. Yeah, but I'm going to coach him the way I think I need to coach him. But I do. I wonder what his dad thinks of me, or what he'd like to say to me. And I'd soon have him say it to me. But yeah, it's an interesting dynamic for a coach and the parents in this type of situation.
Well, this is a good segue, though, because Alexander Wennberg, quite honestly, has gotten off to a very nice start. He is playing, to me, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, and I know you will, but it really starts from the face-off. He's winning battles, he's getting you puck possession, and then we just saw him finish on a power play that was a huge power play goal on Monday in Toronto.
Yeah, he is. He's doing all the things that he needs to do to to continue to be a really good player. The thing I like about him most is that he's getting to pucks. First of all, when he was getting to the pucks last year, he'd get rid of it right away. He's getting the pucks, taking contact, protecting the puck, keeping it, and rolling out of it, skating out of it, climbing up the wall offensively to get away from defensemen. I think he's been very strong on the puck and has played in the areas that he needs to play in. And I think everything comes off of that. And the second thing is his legs are always moving. And he's, as I've said to you how many times last year, he's got to play in the middle of the ice. When he gets that puck, he's got to get it to the middle where there's a lot of traffic, and that's where he can make his play. So I'm very encouraged, and I'm really happy for him that he's just showing that mental mindset. I think that's where it starts, is his mindset.
Do you seek him out because of all the conversation? I know you said he's tired of talking, but have you seeked him out just to say you're doing a good job?
I'll go to him during a game on a play, and I'll just yell down to him. But I don't seek him out for any more office meetings or any more meetings on the ice. We've had our fill of that. But I really haven't had much to say, because I haven't had to, about anything in correcting. It's really, through these first 9 games, it's basically 5-6 times a game. Just tell him that's a really good play. And so I'm happy for him, because he's gone through a lot. He's been through a lot. Him and I guess me at him. He's been through a lot with me, and I'm glad he's improving, and hopefully he'll continue to succeed.
Do you think playing in the World Championships last year helped him, where he went over there and he had a lot of success? He had more success in a few-week period than he had all year last year.
Yeah, I don't know. You'd have to ask them. I didn't bring it up. A lot of people, when I think he scored on his first shift or something like that, I know a lot of people kind of came at me. He says, yeah, because Tortorella isn't coaching him. And it's great. And if he got confidence, I think it's a great question you should ask him. If he got confidence from it, that's fantastic. However he went about his business, I have a different thinking of it. I think he's just pissed. I think he's tired of hearing me. I think he's tired of hearing the critics. He knows how important he is. He knows what he is as a player, because he showed it a few years ago. I think he's just pissed off. He says, and it's kind of that pissed off. I don't care anymore. I'm going to play, and I think he's been terrific.
Let's talk about another centerman, your top-line guy, Pierre-Luc Dubois. You've been able to watch him. Heck, a couple of years ago, you put him at center just so he would get his legs moving. Now this guy's turning into I think he's going to be a premier centerman in this league before it's all said and done. And just one play the other night in Toronto where he comes out of the corner with the puck, powers his way to the net, puts it inside the far post.
Through Matthews, yes. That's the most impressive part of his game right now. I thought he was probably one of our freshest players against Toronto, playing 4 and 6 nights. We were a tired team. I thought he looked fresh. I just like his power game. I think he has confidence now, and it's going to go up and down. I'm sure it will. There's going to be some bumps in the road, but right now he feels when he has the puck, no one can take it from him. And when you feel that way, you play like he's doing. He's taking people on one-on-one. He's taking people on into corners, protecting it, waiting to get hit, rolling off, bringing pucks to net, making plays out of those plays. He has been very good.
How much have you liked just watching his development in particular? And I'll tell you, somebody said to me the other day, it was somebody from one of the other teams we were playing, they looked at him out of his gear and they go, God, he is huge, which third year into it, you're supposed to be now.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That's great. That's fine, Bobby. But the thing I like most about his game, it's how he's handled himself in between shifts. When a shift doesn't go bad or it goes bad, he's not showing outward frustration, banging his stick, slamming doors. And I like the way I think he's beginning to turn into a really good pro here. And is still a very young man in this game. And still I think he has a lot to learn what it is to be a pro. And that's not a criticism of him. It's just a process that young players have to go through, at least in my mind. I think he has shown a consistency of revving himself up, because I think he does that to rev himself up, but he revs himself up now more inwardly instead of tantrums kind of sometimes. And I think that's very important for him to keep progressing at.
And I forgot to mention his dad. Heck, he's a coach in the American Hockey League. So all of his life, if he wants to talk to a coach other than you, and I know that you and him have had a good back and forth, but he can always rely on his dad.
Yeah, we've had a good back and forth. We've had some bumps in the road too. And, yeah, his dad's not – because, and if his dad talked to me, like I know Mike Foligno because I coached him. I was an assistant coach back then, and Mike's been a coach. So I think it's an easier talk. Wenny's dad has been a coach, I believe, too. I wish I can't go to them. I just didn't feel comfortable engaging that way. But those guys that have coached and their sons now with another coach, those would be interesting conversations. And I might learn something from it, too. So I'm not sure how his dad would handle it, because Luke and I have had ups and downs. Listen, I have ups and downs with all players. It's just a nature of how you go about your business. And but I think when you do that, as I've always said to you, Bobby, when there's honesty, there's going to be eventually some conflict along the way. I think you become closer.
On that line, Cam Atkinson got a couple of goals early in the year, and now he's had some great chances. He hasn't been able to finish on that. I guess he's supposed to be the premier shooter and scorer on that line. Do you have any, for lack of a better word, do you have any concerns in Cam's game right now?
No, the only thing that Cam has to watch himself, and I trust him, is not to get frustrated with it and forget about the other parts of the game, because I rely on him for a lot of other parts in the game away from the puck. He's a leader. He's wearing a letter. I know he's frustrated. I've watched him a couple of times. The other night he had a couple of bang-bang plays. He has a breakaway in overtime. I thought it would have been a great situation for him to win a game for us in overtime, him scoring. I think it would have solved a lot of frustration that he has. Instead, it doubles up. Puck rolls on him a little bit. I think he's thinking about doing something else on that play on the breakaway, but it rolls, has to shoot. So it doubles up in frustration. He's just got to make sure he stays with the rest of his game. His goals are going to come. He's too good a player, and I think he understands how to handle this situation.
Before the season started, you pretty much said that your thought on lines was to put Nick Foligno with Pierre-Luc Dubois and Cam Atkinson, and then Texier got the chance in camp, and then he started there, and then when that fell off, you put Nyquist up there, and he did a good job. But you finally have Nick on that line now. And what do you like about the way that they work with him there?
I think they have the puck more. They have the puck quite a bit because Luke has had it in this stretch of games. He's played so well. He's had it a lot. I think Nick helps in that area there. I think Nick and Cam have a familiarity about their games together and playing off of one another. I tried different people because I wanted to try to keep Jens, Andy, and Nick together. Andy's hurt. I tried different things. I think Tex is fighting it a bit. I just wanted to – we weren't scoring, so I changed things, and I like that line. And I think it's another veteran guy around a young center and helping him through some other things when there will be some bumps. So we'll see where it goes as we keep moving forward here.
How has Nick matured for you? Because you've always talked about there's more to him. He's done great things, but he's getting better as a leader. He can get better. He can do this and that. Where is he for you?
Yeah, I like I said, I think it was 3 years ago when I first started, I didn't think he was going to be a good captain. I didn't. And I was very honest with him about that. And I was going to give him one more. This was a summer conversation after the season. I was going to give him an opportunity that following year to see how it goes. I think he's developed into a really good leader. We've had a lot of conversations on that as far as leadership skills and what to do in certain situations. We've worked really well together that way, and a lot of conversations. I've had more one-on-ones with him just regarding the team mindset, all things that go on within a team locker room. And he has really improved, and he's a very important part of this team.
Have you and Mike Foligno ever had that conversation, how you might have bumped his kid from that role?
No, I'm sure he had it with Mike. And, I've been trying to get Mike down in our – because Mike has come to some games, and he never would come down and talk with me. I knew him – I coached him for a number of years there in Buffalo.
Maybe he just doesn't like you.
Yeah, that's a crowded bus, Bobby, so wait your turn. But I've always wanted to just see him. Man, I looked at him. He looks fantastic, and he's coached Lars and Hershey. He's gone through it, and I've always told Nick, tell your dad to come down when he's in town. And just him getting it, he just doesn't want to be in the way. He just wants to watch his son play and go. And but I had a really good opportunity, and I certainly took it to sit down and talk with him when he was here last.
See, he's just doing what you said at the beginning of this. He just sits in the corner and he shuts up.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But he's got a lot of knowledge.
Yes, he does. And I am certainly not trying to get on a big pedestal here to talk about parents and their kids, but my God. And I'm hard on players, but my God, at such ages that I listen. Like my wife used to call me an ass or a snob, she used to call me. I said, Christine, you won't like me if I'm around the people, if I'm there, because I can't listen to it. It's so unfair to the kids. And I think the biggest thing in those youth sports, from the coaching standpoint and the parent standpoint, is to make sure that kid goes out for that sport next year because they're having so much fun. If you lean on a kid as a parent and as a coach, and they're not having fun and they don't go out the next year, shame on you. When you get to the high school and in that area there, that's when they're going to make their own decisions, but don't take the fun out of the sport because you watch too much TV and watch other coaches and think that Jimmy over there is going to play in the National Hockey League as an 8-year-old, that he needs to be doing this as an 8-year-old because he's going to be a National Hockey League player. Wake up. Let him play. Let the coaches coach them. It's a huge responsibility of the coaches.
Yeah, and the last thing that they need, too, is hearing people like me saying what people should be doing and then thinking that's the ultimate rule and then treating their kids like that because I guarantee it's wrong 90% of the time.
Probably.
One more guy I want to ask you about on your team, and he kind of goes under the radar, but I really like what he's done this year if you look at what happened with him last year when he first came in here, and it's Riley Nash. And it's not just because he gets a shorthanded goal the other night, and he makes a steal and gives it to Nick, and Nick gives it back to him, and it's a great goal. But I feel like this guy came in here this year knowing what his role was going to be, accepting that role, and I think he learned that late in the season last year and into the playoffs, whereas at the beginning of last year he was kind of brand new guy, new contract, could hear he could play in the second line, play in the fourth line. He just seemed like he didn't know what to do in many cases, and this year he just looks like a comfortable guy.
Yeah. He gets married over the summer, and I do think that helps. And I think he understands the system better. I think he understands me better. I had him, Tex, and Bemmer playing together at the end of the game. That they weren't aligned today in practice, but that's in the back of my mind because they played very well. I think Bemmer and Tex, who I think are struggling a little bit, felt much more relaxed playing with one another with a veteran guy like Nash, who's such a good man. I got that in the back of my mind, too, here that I might go back to. But, yeah, I think he's playing faster. I think he's a step ahead than he was prior when he first came to us here. So I think he's well-respected in the room, certainly well-liked, is going to have to play a huge role in – you saw what I've done with him during some of these games here where I've shortened the bench. I put him on the right wing. Sometimes with Jens at center when I'm cutting it down. I've moved them all in different areas, so it's a really good guy for me to have. I just think he feels much more comfortable.
Is that an easier decision, too, to make? Because in that situation that you mentioned with him and Jenner on the ice at the same time, if one guy gets waved out of the face-off, the other guy steps in.
Especially at the end of the game when I have a lefty and a righty. And Jens has done such a good job on his face-off circle, too. it's a good situation for him to have. I want him to continue to concentrate on playing fast, and I do think that's anticipation skills mentally that'll make him play faster. He's got to continue to work at that.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up him playing with the two rookies, because I was going to ask you about that and the calmness that he brings. But as far as those two kids, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, the patience with waiting for them. Are you seeing signs? Like you said, Texier is he's struggling a little bit right now, and I agree. I know what you're talking about. But it looks like Bemstrom's on the other side, where he looks like he's a little bit more confident.
Okay. Yeah. Just okay. Yeah, I still think had some good shifts in Chicago. I thought played better the second half of the game when I put, or even further than that, a period or so with Nasher and Tex. I think he is a guy that's an offensive guy that plays big minutes in Sweden, isn't playing a lot of minutes here. It's tough for an offensive guy to get rolling when you're playing so few minutes. I've taken him off the power play because I think he has struggled offensively a little bit. Just had a conversation with him on the ice. Him and I, he liked more communicating. He wants me to come to him. He wants to know where he stands. I think I just think he lacks a little confidence, maybe a little bit nervous. And but in talking to Jarmo, just talked to Jarmo this morning about him. And I trust Jarmo. I've told you that. He thinks he's a hell of a player, hell of an offensive player. We're going to be patient with him, try to help him through this. And that was my question to him on the ice. How can I help you? And, because I'd like to see him get going in more of a flow in his game offensively.
One more guy I forgot, because people send me questions about this guy all the time, and it's Sonny Milano. People are always saying they got to give him more minutes, they've got to do this, they got to do that, and I always talk about the defensive part of his game because you've talked about that. That's what he needs to improve upon. But he scores the highlight reel goal a couple of games ago, and he's getting more time. And I know it's not because of that goal in particular, but what is it that you see in him that he's adjusting to?
I think he's applied himself to playing away from the puck. See, I think Bemstrom, I don't have to coach him away from the puck. I think he's a very smart player away from the puck for such a young guy. Sonny's a guy that needs to learn more about that, and I think he's applied himself there. So it gives me a little bit more trust to put him in different situations. The thing with Sonny is he has to put on the damn brakes once in a while. He just can't be circling around the ice because he ends up out of position defensively. And I think he's really trying to learn that. He's spent a lot of time with Lars with video, and he's trying to learn that because he knows. I'll guarantee he knows that's the door to open to get more ice time. And so we'll see where it goes.
All right. Well, this weekend, if your kid plays hockey, get to the chiller early, because I'm sure after listening to Torts, everybody's going to try to sit in the corner. All the room will be in the middle.
No, I want to make a serious – I'm not trying to preach here. It's who am I to preach? It's just my feeling that and I'm a coach, and everybody thinks the coach coaches their son. I have stayed so far away from that with my kids and let the coaches coach. But when my kids' seasons were over, I almost took a sigh of relief because of listening to some of the nonsense that goes up in that stands with the parents. It's just nuts. And it was I felt so glad that, and I try to explain it to my wife. She still calls me an ass.
Yeah, I'm sure there's many more reasons for that, Torts. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Okay, Bobby.
That's Blue Jackets head coach John Tortorella, and this has been Time Out with Torts. I'm Bob McElligott.